media, the sports media, refuses to acknowledge and give people the full story. Right now, all they're doing, well, they're shilling for the WNBA. And that shouldn't shock us. I mean, the sports media is woke, and they've been in the bag for the WNBA for years now, like it is. Well, they're doing it with the ratings. Oh, my God. The ratings are so brave, stunning, and courageously large. Except the ratings are literally different than they were any other year.
The WNBA media machine is back at it again, pumping out record-breaking headlines that honestly fall apart the moment you read the fine print. They're proudly calling this year's finals the most watched in 25 years. But hold up, that's only true if you completely ignore how those numbers are being counted. So, the big question is, did the league really shatter records? Or did the media just move the goalpost once again? What do you think? Are the WNBA's numbers legit, or are they inflating stats to try and hide how much they're missing? Caitlin Clark, drop your take below, because we're about to cut through all the noise.
Different than they were any other year. But yet, the sports media, like Front Office Sports, will run a headline like this, completely misleading people.
If you've checked out ESPN, Front Office Sports, or any woke outlet this week, you've definitely seen the same headline copy-pasted everywhere. WNBA Finals most viewed in 25 years. Sounds incredibly impressive, right? Except, that's not even close to the full story, because here's the kicker. The media isn't technically lying, but they are absolutely not telling you the whole truth either. What they're doing is what we politely call creative accounting, and that's just a nice way of saying they're completely cooking the numbers.
WNBA Finals most viewed in 25 years, despite possible Aces sweep. Oh, this was before the game ended, but this came out late yesterday afternoon.
So, let's dive into what's actually happening. This year's WNBA Finals, which featured the Las Vegas Aces and the Phoenix Mercury, are being hyped up as some sort of ratings miracle. Supposedly, viewership spiked 13% from last year, supposedly making it the most watched final since 2000. But there's one tiny, crucial detail missing from all those shiny headlines. The way those ratings are measured completely changed this season. Yeah, you heard that right. They're counting things differently now. Nielsen, the company we all rely on for TV ratings, just added big data and smart device tracking into their formula. What that means is they're now counting people watching from smart TVs, set-top boxes, bars, gyms, and basically anywhere a screen is turned on, even if there's literally no one actually watching it.
Goodness, the Aces have won all 3 games of the series, which are drawing 13% more viewers than last year. No shit, because you're literally including a shit ton of new TVs in this whole situation. It is unbelievable. They'll run this headline and then in fine print somewhere tell the whole story. The WNBA Finals continue to post strong viewership through 3 games. Well, honestly, compared to Indiana Fever regular season games, especially the ones Caitlin Clark plays in, but hell, the ones she don't. Ratings don't look that damn big to me still. They still don't look.
Hold up. Don't let that 1.9 million average viewers number plastered all over the internet fool you. You might want to subtract a few 100,000 of those ghost viewers before you start celebrating. Because if this same measurement had been used last year, the 2024 finals would have broken records too. It's not that the WNBA suddenly exploded in popularity, it's that Nielsen decided to start counting every plugged-in device like it's a pair of active eyeballs. In other words, congratulations, WNBA. The league finally discovered the magic of counting empty hotel TVs, and of course, the sports media ate it right up. Front Office Sports even ran with a headline screaming, WNBA Finals highest viewership in 25 years, despite possible sweep.
But you're not giving people the full story in these headlines. Yeah, oh my God, that catches attention, and everybody can, ESPN can take a victory lap, all these media outlets saying, look, see, everybody's interested in the WNBA. Nah, Nah, you're just using different metrics, which is changing what the viewership totals are.
Sounds totally amazing, right? Until you realize that, buried halfway down the article, and by the way, we're talking about the 5th paragraph here, is the real truth. It says audience metrics are getting a bump from Nielsen, which changed its tracking methods in 2025 to include set-top boxes and smart TVs. Translation, we're counting differently now, but we'll totally pretend it's the same thing so we can tweet about record-breaking rating.
We got the official viewership numbers for Game 1 of the finals, and this is from ESPN. 1.9 million viewers, which is up 62%, with its peak at 2.5 million. And this is the most watched Game 1 of the WNBA finals in 28 years. I was actually pleasantly surprised by this data because I felt like the buzz around the WNBA finals has actually been pretty low this season. I thought the buzz around the Lynx Liberty finals last year had more buzz. Like, I was seeing a lot more people talk about that. Now, I have been seeing a ton of people talk about the game last night because obviously Asia's game winner was just legendary, and we are going to see that clip. We are going to see that photo for many, many of years. But up until last night, I felt like the buzz was really low on the finals. There were so many people who just weren't talking about it. They were talking about baseball, or they were talking about the NBA preseason or whatever, but it really wasn't focused on the finals. So when you see numbers like that, obviously those are great numbers, the best in 28 years. Another reason I was surprised by the numbers is because both games that were in Las Vegas actually weren't sold out. Game 1 and Game 2. And we also saw the ticket prices for those games. They were down to like $35. And then I believe the game last night was also down to like $10 per ticket. So it seemed like the demand for these WNBA finals had gone down a little bit, and both of the games in Vegas were not sold out. But I guess the TV numbers are still translating. So that's obviously a really good sign for the WNBA.
That's journalism in 2025, folks, and it's all part of the same old protect the brand routine. The WNBA has spent all season desperately trying to prove they don't need Caitlin Clark to survive, and they're just desperate for any headline that makes that sound true, because here's what they absolutely don't want you to remember. Caitlin Clark's regular season fever games easily outdrew these finals. Her average over 1.5 million viewers per game, with some of them even hitting 2 million. And get this, that was without the benefit of this shiny new counting method. So let's do some basic math. The WNBA finals, under this inflated system, average 1.9 million. Caitlin's regular season games, under the old system, average 1.5 million. You don't need to be a statistician to see what's really going on here. If they used last year's tracking system, this year's finals wouldn't even come close to touching Caitlin Clark's regular season numbers. But of course, they'll never say that out loud, because right now, the WNBA is in full-on image control mode. They lost their biggest draw for the postseason, and without Caitlin in the mix, they know the finals wouldn't look so hot. So what do you do when your star isn't there? You change how you count. It's a simple trick. Redefine success, add a few new screens, reward a few press releases, and boom, record-breaking viewership. This is like saying your restaurant had the best sales month ever after you started counting the free water as an entree. It's that ridiculous. But let's dig even deeper, because the fine print gets funnier the more you read it. The 2025 finals averaged 1.9 million viewers across 3 games, and that includes 2 ESPN broadcasts and 1 ABC slot, meaning these weren't all cable numbers. ABC is free to air, so the audience pool is automatically bigger. That's like comparing a Netflix stream to a Super Bowl commercial and acting shocked that the second one had more viewers. Yet somehow, the media ran with it anyway. They love this story, not because it's true, but because it feels good. It lets them say, see, women's sports are thriving, even without Caitlin Clark. It keeps the social narrative alive that the WNBA is growing organically, even though every piece of data screams otherwise. Because let's face it, without Clark, the WNBA's buzz dropped like a bad stock. Ticket sales fell, merch sales cooled off, search interest nosedived after the fever season ended, but the sports media doesn't want to talk about that. Instead, they'd rather cherry-pick numbers and shout record-breaking until people stop asking questions. And the worst, most fans don't even realize how cooked these numbers are. Nielsen's new system, the so-called Big Data Plus panel method, literally started this year. It's not a minor adjustment, it's a complete overhaul of how audiences are counted. Before 2025, Nielsen used a panel-only system, meaning they based ratings on a controlled sample of households. Now they've added millions of new devices into the mix, everything from Roku boxes, to smart TVs, to YouTube multicast. So, if you're sitting in a hotel lobby with ESPN on mute while scrolling your phone, congratulations, you're now an active viewer. That's how this record got made. It's fake growth, built on fake numbers, sold by fake headline. And the funniest part is, even with those inflated counts, the finals still barely edge out Caitlin Clark's real ratings from months ago. That's the part the woke sports media doesn't want to admit, because saying Caitlin Clark drives the entire WNBA economy would be admitting that the league's biggest star isn't the commissioner, or A'ja Wilson, or even the Aces dynasty. It's one player from Indiana who made the league relevant again. And for the activists in the media who've spent all season calling Clark overhyped, that truth stings. That's why they keep spinning stories about collective growth. They can't stand that one person, one player, can outperform their entire playoff system. But the reality is simple. Caitlin Clark made people care. The finals didn't. Without her, the league feels flat. The games look smaller. The storylines vanish. You can pump up the stats all you want, but it doesn't change the vibe, and fans know it. When Clark plays, Twitter lights up. When the finals aired, crickets. Even WNBA players couldn't fake enthusiasm online. The engagement was minimal, the memes were dry, the energy was gone, and you can't measure that with a Nielsen meme. So while the headlines scream highest ratings in 25 years, the reality is a league quietly realizing it might have already peaked. And it's only October. The fans can smell it, the analysts can see it, even Adam Silver probably knows it. Because let's be honest, the numbers don't lie, but they can definitely be rearranged until they say what you want. So let's talk about what happened next, because the second fans caught on to this ratings trick, the internet absolutely exploded. People started comparing the numbers side by side. Caitlin Clark's regular season games versus the so-called record-breaking finals, and when you put them next to each other, it looked embarrassing. One comment said it best: the finals barely beat Caitlin's random Tuesday night game, and they had to count hotel TVs to do it. That's the mood right now. Even longtime WNBA fans are tired of the media gaslighting them. They love the league, but they also want honesty, not fake wins. This isn't about tearing down women's basketball, it's about telling the truth. You can't say the league is thriving when half the growth comes from how you count. And it's not just fans noticing this. Some journalists are finally calling it out too. One TV analyst said, "We can't compare these numbers to any past year because this is year one of a completely new system." Translation: all those 25-year highs are meaningless, but that didn't stop ESPN and others from spinning it. They plastered those big, bold numbers everywhere, acting like the league finally broke through. Meanwhile, Adam Silver and Kathy Engelbert are probably somewhere quietly hoping nobody asks how those numbers actually got so high, because here's the truth. The WNBA knows exactly what's happening. They know that without Caitlin Clark, the excitement drops. They know that most of the new audience came because of her, not after her, and the panic behind the scenes is real. Why? Because the off-season is here, and there's no Clark, no fever buzz, no packed arena, and now they've got to sell sponsors on a record-breaking finals that half the internet already called fake. That's a hard sell. Advertisers aren't dumb. They look at engagement, not headline. And when the finals pulled half the social buzz of Caitlin's worst-rated regular season game, that tells you everything. You can fake TV metrics, but you can't fake conversation. Caitlin Clark had people who never watched basketball suddenly caring. She had bars showing fever games in primetime. She made every arena she walked into sell out. And now, the WNBA is trying to act like they don't need that. Yeah, good luck with that. You can't build a brand on "we're fine without her" when your own finals needed a new counting method just to look decent. The funniest part, the league actually thought fans wouldn't notice. They dropped the record viewership headline right before the weekend, hoping everyone would just share it and move on. But fans did their homework. They found the footnote about the new Nielsen method. They compared it to last year's system, and they exposed the whole thing. The comments online were brutal. Fake growth, media manipulation, counting microwaves. One tweet even joked, "Congrats to the WNBA for finally getting my dentist waiting room counted as a viewer." It's funny because it's true. This wasn't organic success. It was pure PR spin. And now, even players are starting to side-eye the numbers. Some insiders have hinted that players know the finals didn't draw huge attention. Attendance was solid, but not historic. The online traffic, meh. You can't fake that kind of energy, because when Caitlin Clark played, everyone felt it. Even her warm-up games had more intensity than some of these finals matchups. That's not disrespect, it's reality. The WNBA might be growing, but Caitlin Clark is the engine. She's the reason you even clicked on a WNBA headline this year. She's the reason mainstream networks suddenly care, and the league pretending otherwise just makes them look completely out of touch. Now, here's the part that really hurts the media. The truth is catching up. Independent reporters are starting to fact-check those glowing headlines. Some even publish breakdowns showing how the 25-year high number would actually drop below 1 million if the new tracking was removed. One headline literally read, "Record viewership claim doesn't add up." And when your fact-checkers start roasting you, that's not a good sign. The WNBA wanted to prove they could stand without Caitlin Clark. Instead, they accidentally proved she's the reason they stand at all, and that's why the league's leadership is nervous. Because next season, if ratings dip again, even with the new counting system, they'll have nowhere to hide, no new metric to blame, no record headline to distract people. The truth will be out there in plain sight without Caitlin Clark. The WNBA loses steam, and that's why you're seeing all this desperate spin now. They're trying to control the story before it controls them, but the internet doesn't forget. Fans remember who really brought excitement to this league. It wasn't media bias, it wasn't fake stats, it was one player who made everyone care. So the next time you see a record-breaking headline, just scroll down to paragraph 5. That's where the real story always hides. So there you have it. Fake ratings, real exposure, and the league scrambling to hide its biggest secret. They absolutely cannot replace Caitlin Clark. Do you think the WNBA will ever admit how much they depend on her, or will they keep faking growth with cooked numbers? Drop your answer below, hit like, and don't forget to subscribe for more truth bombs on sports media.